for dinner tonight, we're just going to do a real quick sheet pan chicken, potatoes, and peppers. And actually, hold on. There's the onion. It's only going to use half. And then we're going to make a sauce with some yogurt and some of the adobo sauce. But I've got, this is 1.5 pounds of the potatoes. I calls for the mini peppers, but I've got these two we need to use anyways. I've got a red onion. We're going to use about half. We're going to do about half the chicken thighs because we're going to save the rest for another meal. I've got salt, pepper, olive oil, or I think it's avocado oil, smoked paprika, garlic, cumin, and oregano. Just a real quick, easy sheet pan dinner. And then, like I said, we'll make a sauce, dipping sauce to go on the side. So the easiest thing for me to do is I'm going to just take the potatoes and we're going to quarter them, unless they're too big. And then we're just going to throw all of the vegetables once I've got it in the pieces of sizes that I want. We're going to season it, and then we'll season the chicken thighs on top of the sheet pan. So the peppers, I think we'll just cut them in chunks, kind of like that. The potatoes are all like that, so kind of making them all the same size. The potatoes are going to take longer, and that's fine. And like I said, we're only going to do half of this red onion because it's rather large, but I did leave the larger. I ended up not cutting it equal. So I'm going to leave the other piece, the bigger piece. I'm going to make fajitas this week. So, and then we're just going to toss all this in the bag. Oop. I also have my sheet pan over here ready to go. Now in here, we're going to spray really well. And this is avocado oil. And boy, is that red onion pungent. Ooh. All right. We're going to do salt. Pepper. Some oregano. Some cumin, and I like cumin, so here. I don't know why. Ooh, well, and that is why I always make a mess of it. I'm gonna go heavy-handed on the cumin, and I am not going to put this silly thing back in. Garlic. And smoked paprika. I've got a little bit left in this one. Oh, I might have enough. I don't know. We'll see. For at least for this. And then I've got another bottle over there. And then I'm just going to seal this up, and I'm going to give this a real good mix. Okay, hold on tight because these bags will break up. You can put this in a bowl. I just don't feel like cleaning another dish today. And I need to clean this up. I'm going to bring the sheet pan. Get this all nice and even and break up some of these onions. Some of the bigger ones. They're going to soften, so it's really not a problem. Get this all evened out because I really do want this to roast. And then we're going to make holes for the chicken thighs. So I took the 4 biggest chicken thighs. We're gonna do the 5th. We're gonna go ahead and just do 5. So ignore me on that. This way we have a lunch tomorrow if my husband needs it. And I'll just pull a chicken. I've got more chicken thighs in the freezer, and I'll pull out another chicken thigh for the fajitas. All right, and we're just gonna repeat the seasoning. Some salt. Pepper. Garlic powder. Oregano. The other container of smoked paprika. Because I want the chicken to have flavor. And carefully, remember, I took the top off. I didn't throw it out. So we're going to put it back on because I'm shaking. Okay, this is going to go in a preheated 425 degree oven, and I'm going to check it for, you know, the potatoes to be done and the chicken to be done, but probably about 20-25 minutes. So for the sauce, we're going to use Greek yogurt. You could also use sour cream. Calls for a half cup. Eyeballing. Let me put a little bit more just because. Now it says to mince up one of these. I am not going to do that. I'm going to leave the adobo in there, and I'm just going to use the sauce for this. And then I'm going to take what's left once I get it to the temperature I want it, and because I don't want it hot. But I can put the rest of this into a, I've got a, oh, what is it? It is an enchilada recipe where I put a flank steak in the crock pot, and you put this in with it, and it doesn't make it too hot. And now I like it that way. So I will take this and freeze it into like 2 portions. That way I don't use it too much. But I do want to give this some flavor. So we're just going to give this a little mix, and then I'm going to taste it. As I said, I don't do hot. So I want it to have some warmth. How's that? And the old-fashioned way. Ooh. Okay. I won't be able to eat that, and I did not put that much in. So that's kind of why I started with the amount I did. As I said, make it to the temp you want. Otherwise, I may not be eating this. This may all be for my husband. That's still warm. I may pull some out and add some yogurt to it. He'll like this. Too hot for me. And you saw I barely put any in. So be careful with this, or this one's just hot. I don't know. I've had this before multiple times. Sometimes they're warmer than others, just like a jalapeno. Here we go. This took about a half an hour. I just made sure that the chicken was up to temp and the potatoes were soft. And because there was plenty of room, it roasted. I don't have a lot of liquid on this pan, which is what we wanted. And just so you see, that's his sauce. That's my sauce. Do we see the coloration different? And this still has heat. I think I'm going to serve mine up with a little bit of avocado. I'm going to put the sheet pan to work this week. So this is a shrimp and broccoli sheet pan dinner, and we're going to serve it over rice. So very, very simple. This is about a pound of shrimp, and I have it defrosting. I'm going to clean it and peel the shells. I have that half of a red onion. I have a nice amount of broccoli that we're going to cut up, and then we're going to make a very simple, and we're going to roast it in an oven. And then we're going to make a simple sauce, mix it with the shrimp, and put it all together for another few minutes in the oven and serve it over the rice. Could not be easier. So we're just going to cut up the broccoli, and I'm going to put it in a big bowl, and I'm going to let it soak for just a little bit, and then we'll get it on the sheet pan. But all I'm doing is kind of breaking the broccoli apart. We're going to roast it. So it doesn't have to be teeny tiny. I kind of want, you know, go to a Chinese restaurant and you get pieces of broccoli. We'll see if I use all of it. Okay. I ended up using all the broccoli. So for the onion, I don't know. I'm just going to cut it. We like onion, so it's not a problem. But I want it in nice pieces. I want it in nice chunks. So I'll break apart anything that looks too big. Keep in mind, I mean, we're eating this with a fork. Bite size, I guess, is the moral of the story. And plus, these will break up. So any pieces that I don't think will, I'll just cut again in half. And then we'll add this to the sheet pan with the broccoli after it soaks. And I'm going to go ahead, oven just preheated to 400. I'm going to go ahead and take this shrimp, and I'm going to get it cleaned and shells off. Okay, I've cut up the onions, and I'm just going to get these on here. I've soaked the broccoli, and I went ahead and cleaned the shrimp, so that gave the broccoli a little bit of time to soak. So we're just going to add it here. I've drained the water off, but there's still a little bit left in the bowl, so I'm just going to pull it all out. Now, let's get this all together. Remember, we're wanting to roast this, so we don't want it to steam. So let's get it down to a good layer. Get the onions apart and get them separated. Okay. I'm going to take this and just spray this all in some oil. And it doesn't call for it, but I'm going to add just a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, now we're going to roast this in the oven for 12 minutes at 400 degrees. And in the meantime, we're going to make the sauce and coat the shrimp in it, and then we're going to pour it on top, mix it together, and finish baking it. So all this sauce is 3 tablespoons for 1 serving, 3 tablespoons of oyster sauce, 1 tablespoon vinegar, and 2 cloves garlic. I'm going to double it, because you know how sauces are. Give this a good shake. Oyster sauce is always difficult to get out, and I'm going to have to buy more of that. Do that next. We're going to go ahead and salt just a little bit and pepper the shrimp, just because. Get the garlic. I might have to open the other one. Yeah, we'll just use what's here. Get rid of that. This is rice vinegar, and it calls for 2 tablespoons. I'm gonna eyeball it, sort of. And then we're gonna add the oyster sauce. You could also use any jarred teriyaki sauce you want. In fact, I'm making enough for this, and I can already tell you my husband's not going to think it's saucy enough, so he's going to turn around and use a jar of teriyaki sauce on his for extra flavor. He likes to coat his rice in it and stuff. Now the recipe even says, no, there's not a lot of sauce, and as I said, I doubled it. When the shrimp cook, they're going to release juices, and it'll make more sauce, because the oyster sauce is very, oh my lord, my words are leaving me today, condensed. So it's kind of strong, but I love the flavor of oyster sauce. Okay, I'm waiting on the broccoli to roast. It had 12 minutes. I think we're down to 5. And we'll put all this together. Now that this has come out, and it's nice and they've all started to roast, we're going to take the shrimp and we're just going to pour it on. Get all that sauce. Now give it all a good mix. Get it all mixed up together. Not the easiest, but when you're trying to not dirty everything in the house, you make it work. Okay, I've got it all evened out, I think the best I can. I just really made sure nothing was going to be touched, especially the shrimp at this point. So we're gonna put this back in that 400-degree oven for 8 to 10 minutes until the shrimp is cooked. It smells delicious, and look how well cooked it all is. Very simple, very easy dinner tonight. So this week is all about getting dinner on the table as quick and easy as you can. Well, here we go with another one. Chicken fajitas. Really simple, easy, and we're going to throw it on a sheet pan and we'll have dinner ready in about 20 minutes. So I've gone ahead and cut them, and now we're just going to, I don't like big pieces. I like a lot of it, but I don't like big pieces. So I'm going to cut each one in half and then do little bits. It also works better, I feel like, because of the fact we're doing a sheet pan meal. So once I get all the peppers and onions cut up, and I'm going to do the onions pretty much, I'm just going to just do that, and then we'll spread them apart. I'm going to do what I always do, is I'm going to throw all of this in a Ziploc bag so we can season it. So I have all the veggies all nice and cut up. We're going to spray with oil. Okay, maybe. Give it a shake to make sure all that oil is on there. And then at this point, if you have taco seasoning, use your taco seasoning packet. I'm going to do my normal, which is garlic powder, smoked paprika, if I can get it to come out, and I'm going to season all the veggies, and then I'm going to turn around and season the meat separately. But you'll see why. This is cumin, which I always say I never can get enough out. I did this the other day and had a mess. There we go. I like a lot of cumin versus a lot of chili powder. So you do it however you like. Like I said, no shame in using a taco seasoning packet. That is onion powder. There's the chili, which has bigger holes in it. And oregano. Throw, just as a joke, a little more oil. Get it all sealed. And I hold on for dear life, otherwise this all ends up on the floor. And give it a really good shake. Massage all of those seasonings into it. And then take that and dump it out onto your sheet. And then, I don't have my favorite little one over here. I'm gonna spread all of this out so that when we go to, I'm going to do the same thing with chicken, and then the chicken we're going to strategically lay in between all of this so that way it all roasts. You really want an even layer on all of this. And see, this is the nice thing. You could add even more vegetables or less vegetables, more chicken, less chicken. Do what your family likes. So for the chicken, I've cut off any of the fat pieces. I have my bag right here, and like I said, we're going to cut this into strips, into pieces, however you want it. So, kind of like I said, however you want it. My plan is I'm going to eat mine on a salad. My husband has tortilla shells or flour tortillas. I might have one like that, but primarily I'm just going to eat this over a salad, and I'm going to make a salad out of it. And then we're going to cut the rest of these down, and like I said, I'm going to take off any big pieces of fat. All right, start with the oil again. Mine's just avocado oil. Let's see, I did not put the lid. Yeah, I did. All right. So we're going to put in the cumin. Like I said, you can use a taco seasoning pack. I don't typically, because I like a lot more cumin in it than I do chili powder. It's just a preference. Garlic. Smoked paprika. Onion powder, oregano, and chili powder. And give it all a good massage, shake, whatever you want to do. Over here. Now with the shrimp that I did, it was so much easier because the shrimp moved around. This doesn't. So let's get some of this scooted. Now we're going to take the chicken, and I'm just going to dollop it. It'll take me a few minutes, but it'll be well worth it. Because you want the chicken to actually roast, not steam. Because I think it's so much better like this. And I've seen other people just all plop it down. So you don't have to do it this way. Do whatever works. Just get dinner on the table. And there we go. Now I'm going to put this in a preheated 400-degree oven. And I'd say about 15 to 20 minutes I'll start checking it. I did cut the chicken in small strips, so it should cook faster. If you left the chicken in bigger pieces, it could take longer. It just is going to depend on A, your oven, and B, how big of pieces of chicken you have. All out of the oven and ready to make dinner with it. So I just took my lettuce, and I buy the sweet butter from Aldi. We also like the spring mix. My husband has regular. I'm going to take some of the chicken that I just dropped, and peppers and onions. And I'm going to load this because this is dinner. There we go. Now I shredded up an entire container of pepper jack for my husband, but I have the cojita from last week. We need to use it, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to throw some sour cream. And or I could have put some Greek yogurt. I should have done Greek yogurt. And then I still have half of an avocado from the other night. And all I did was put a little bit of lemon juice. So I'm going to cut this up. Basically, you use whatever toppings you want, but just real easy. See how simple that was? And look at that. And I dropped a couple. Look how good that looks. And that was so simple, so easy. This would be a great meal prep, any of these sheet pans. And you have lunches for the entire week. This is probably what I am taking for lunch tomorrow.